Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here tonight. My name is Jen J. I'm an advanced holistic nutritionist. We're going to talk a little bit about myself in a moment. I'll introduce you all to some tips for lasting health on a plant-based diet. And I'm going to be diving into actually some tips you're going to want to avoid. And some of the biggest traps that we fall in when we're transitioning. Now, I am currently getting a notification from Zoom that my internet is unstable, so I apologize if I cut in and out a little bit. I'm really hoping that it stabilizes over the next few minutes as we get started. But if not, this is being recorded, so you'll have access to the recording just as soon as I've managed to upload it over to my YouTube channel and can get the link out to everybody. So if you're interested in getting the recording, I'm going to say that out now just in case you get cut off at any time. Or if you get booted out, then just reach out to the person who invited you here tonight and we can send you off the recording link once it's uploaded. Now, so as I mentioned, I'm an advanced holistic nutritionist. Specifically, I help women balance hormones and I have a really strong focus on family health. I'm a mom, just of one, however, one is enough for some of us. And I know that as a mom, if it's not simple for the whole family to get on board with really healthy living changes, then it's not going to happen for mamas. So with that, I do have a family approach to my practice. Now, I personally have lived a vegan plant-based lifestyle for the last 5 years. My transition to a vegan diet has been quite a journey, and I'm actually going to share a little bit about that with you in a bit. But that journey has brought me to a lot of incredible experiences, both health-wise, energy-wise, and just elevating me to a better person than I thought I could be, just being more aware of, the decisions that I make and the person that I'm becoming. And so because of that, I am an enthusiast about it. And so I do encourage others to try to lead a more plant strong lifestyle. And in that, I have that as well wrapped into my coaching. Now, I do have a BA in psychology as well. I live and I coach by the motto of one bite at a time, which to me is really just about breaking our goals down into simple, actionable, intentional steps. And instead of looking at this really huge, unrealistic, long-term goal, really breaking it down into those tiny micro steps that we can get that gets us to that bigger picture. And so doing that, you can really start to experience this change, this evolvement of your life and your lifestyle, and ultimately your health and your goals in the process, making that everything that you become becomes a lifestyle rather than a fad or feeling very restrictive. Now, this is new to my bio here, you guys. If you've been on previous webinars, this is not something I've been able to mention prior, but tonight it is incredibly weird for me to be able to say this, but I am now actually a published author, you guys. So that is my name right there. It is the most bizarre thing to me, but it's very, very cool. So my book is officially on sale today. And I know that a handful of you have already put in pre-orders and you've actually received your hard copy today, which is so amazing. So I want to thank you all who have put in pre-orders for your support. It means so much to me. And honestly, like, it's just so humbling that all of you, even though I give away so much free information on all of our webinars and so many tips and information on our social media accounts. It's just really, really humbling that you still value what I have to say and that you will actually purchase something for me. So I want to thank all of you on here tonight who have done that. That means a lot to me. Now, the book that I wrote is actually called the Plant-Based Mediterranean Diet Cookbook. And I'm going to be taking tips directly from this book tonight to be sharing with you. And so that is what's prompted this talk tonight. Plant-based is a super huge topic these days. It's no secret that plant-based has become, one of the most talked about diets probably worldwide. And there's also no question as to why that is. And we're going to get into that a little bit. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about this book. In case you haven't yet grabbed a copy, you guys, it's really not expensive. It's about $22. You can buy it on Amazon here in Canada, $22. If you're in the States, it's only about $17. So it's really, really affordable. Now, it has 70 5 easy to follow recipes. Pantry staple list is in there. I gave a 2-week jumpstart menu. So literally your first 2 weeks of the plant-based Mediterranean diet are laid out for you. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, everything you need, including shopping lists to make that happen for you. So you literally just have to shop and eat to get yourself going. Now, everything shared in the book is science and research-backed information. And the really great thing that I love about this book, and I actually got some flack on this, okay, is that this is a flexible cookbook, meaning that even though I personally live a very strict vegan, plant-based lifestyle, the book does not have that rigidity or that structured inflexibility, okay? And what I mean by that is of the 75 recipes, 11 of them contain chicken, fish, or eggs. And so the reason for that is that really does allow flexibility in what you eat, and that it shows you how delicious plant-based eating can be without feeling restrictive and still allowing you the chance to enjoy the recipes that you normally eat on a regular basis, or to eat out at a restaurant and not feel like you're restricted in what your options are. And so being realistic in the following and the people who pay attention to what I share, I had to know that when I wrote this book, I was writing it for all of you and not for me. So in that book is so many recipes that can really help you transition into a more plant-strong lifestyle and diet. And so that is for lasting weight loss and lifelong health. And honestly, weight loss comes naturally when we eat the right foods. So I'm just going to put that out there for you, okay? It's not a hard process. It's not a hard concept. When you put the right foods into your body naturally loses weight that it shouldn't have. Now let's get something straight. First of all, what is plant-based eating? Because we hear these words all the time, right? We hear plant-based, we hear it's plant-based, it's a plant-based burger, it's a plant-based hot dog, it's plant-based cheese, it's plant-based milk. Is plant-based really, okay? True plant-based eating is a strong and intentional focus on eating more plants in as close to their natural state as possible. That's it. So specifically, we're looking at reducing meat and dairy consumption, but that doesn't mean entirely restricting it. If you were eating a vegan plant-based diet, then yes, you would be looking at restricting meat, dairy, and fish. Now, for some people, the definition of vegan and plant-based are kind of interlaced and they're kind of the same thing. But here's the thing, a plant-based diet is one that really does just focus on having more plants on your plate. And plants don't just mean salad, you guys, because what a plant-based diet is it's not boring. It's not tasteless. It's not just salads. It's not restrictive. In fact, there's a whole world, like an entire universe of food that opens up to you when you start adding more plants to your plate. It's incredible. I could have never imagined how creative, how expressive food can allow you to be, okay? Plant-based eating is not the consumption of processed foods. So those plant-based burgers, yeah, they don't actually technically qualify under a plant-based diet. But the cool thing is a plant-based diet is not an all or nothing. You get to pick and choose where you want to meet yourself in this journey. Maybe it's meatless Mondays. Maybe it's no meat at dinner time. No, maybe you are cutting out dairy entirely. Maybe you're just focusing on adding more stuff to your plate. So instead of having, ground chicken on your plate or in your spaghetti sauce, you're putting some lentils in there because you're really trying to add more plants into there. So it's not an all or nothing. And you honestly get to set the pace and the destination on this journey. So here are some reasons that people eat plant-based. Number one, we're really unhealthy, right? That's not a surprise to any of us. 1 in 4 people die of heart disease. 1 in 2 women and 1 in 3 men actually develop cancer in their lifetime. 1 in 3 people will have diabetes by 2050. You guys, that is a scary statistic. And the fact that 1 in 5 children are already obese is really scary. We know that obesity contributes to high levels of heart disease, cardiovascular concerns, diabetes as well. And so, when we have unhealthy children, as a whole, we have an unhealthy society. And so, with this unhealth in our society, and then the fact that we've got environmental toxins increasing that are putting strains on our body, and our food quality decreasing, with more than 50% of what we eat being processed foods, it's not really surprising that we have this huge disconnect between the way that we should feel and the way that we actually do. Okay. And so health tends to be, for most people, one of the most motivating factors to change their diet. Now, in my case, I'm going to share with you a little bit about my story in case you don't know what prompted me on this journey. And mine is actually a little bit bizarre, I guess, if you think about it. I grew up on a farm. I'm going to speed through this story a little bit because I don't want it to be too long, but I grew up on a farm. I have raised my meat from egg, birth to plate, done the whole process. And when my daughter was 4 months old, I was breastfeeding her. My dog was staring at me. And I mean, like, you know, the big eyes your dogs give you where you're in this like locked in staring contest that you didn't actually commit to doing, but you can't look away and your dog was just keep staring. Okay. I was locked into one of those. And I realized, you know, in a couple of years, I'm going to be teaching my daughter about safety around the dog and, you know, don't pull on her tail, don't pull on her ears, be careful not to sit on her, all these types of conversations. And I realized, you know, what if my child is a biter? It happens, or, you know, our toddlers, when they're teething, they bite. And I thought, you know, what if she bites her? What if she mistakes, you know, my dog Lola for something to eat? And then that whole process, and now this all happened while I was locked eyes with my dog. Okay, this was the most bizarre and fastest processing I've ever gone through. But I realized at some point in my daughter's life, she's going to ask me why we eat our chickens that we keep in the backyard, and, you know, all the cows and the pigs and all the eggs out of our animals, and why we drink their milk, but we don't eat the family pet dog. Now, I grew up on a farm, okay? So I was used to just eating meat and it was a natural part of life. But the more I tried to come up with, you know, an answer that I could give her, that, you know, to be prepared for when this question ultimately came up, I realized I don't have an answer that makes sense. I don't. The more I tried to justify it, the less sense it made. And I realized in that moment that it just didn't make sense for me anymore. And in that moment, I decided, you know, I'm done. I know that there are healthier options out there. I know I can do it. I'm scared as hell, you guys. It was a totally new experience for me. I had no idea what I was doing. And I took it on and I ran with it. And in the process, at the time, I was dealing with awful medical issues. Just my health was awful. Most of you know my hormonal story. And, you know, in this process of transitioning into a plant-based diet, I experienced such a transformation in my health, such a difference in the way my hormones were balancing and regulating. And I actually now feel better in my 30s than I ever have in my lifetime, which is something most people don't have the privilege of saying. And so, you know, in that journey, I realized, you know, there's really something to this, you know, all the science can't be wrong. Now, some of the things that, when we're unwell, what's happening is that our bodies are, you know, we've got all these toxins going on. We've got this decreased food quality. Maybe we're not eating enough plants. We're not eating enough healthy food. We've got too many unhealthy options in our diet. And this is causing oxidative stress on our body. It's causing our body to age internally from the inside out more rapidly than it should be. Okay. Now, the good thing is, and this is what, you know, all our science tells us now, is that fruits and vegetables actually protect us from that cellular attack from, you know, our preservatives and our GMOs and our synthetic vitamins and our growth hormones and the toxins in our environment. And so all of this is actually protecting us. So the more plants we eat, you know, they're not just good for us, but they could literally save our life. And science is now showing that, you know, plant-based diet can actually reverse cardiovascular disease. It can manage and sometimes even reverse type 2 diabetes. It can help lower the risk of obesity and several types of cancer. Wow, you guys, like literally, wow, that's amazing, right? The concept that what we eat every single day can either turn on unhealthy genes or it can turn them off so that we have a healthier lifespan and healthier longevity life or health life is a really big deal, right? Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, well, you know, like, I'm okay. I don't really need those, you know, all those extra plants because I just take a multivitamin to make up for, you know, where I'm lacking in my diet. And unfortunately, you know, while that's great, it's not always the best option because our whole food has thousands thousands of phytonutrients that never could compare to what's in an isolated synthetic chemical vitamin. Our bodies just don't absorb them the same. They don't recognize them the same. And in fact, by eating plants, we actually increase the nutritional value of our plants by eating them in pairs, in any pair, doesn't matter, okay? And this is called food synergy. This is where the nutrition of one food is amplified by the presence of the nutrition of a second type of food. Incredible, right? We don't get that when we consume a multivitamin. So what I'm saying to you is if you're not yet eating a plant-based diet, I want you to consider adding more plant-based to your plate every day. Okay? Now, a couple of other reasons that people transition to a plant-based diet is for the environment. Of course, in that traditional agriculture and farming, industrial farming now used contribute to a lot of our water runoff, waste issues, air quality, land use also is another big one. And then animal rights is another big one, of course, for many people. Saving money. Plant-based diets can actually be incredibly inexpensive, incredibly, because the cost of your plant-based proteins are just a fraction of the cost of your meat comparison, not just in the cost to raise it, but in the cost to buy it and feed it to your family. So there's definitely some savings to be had there when done right. Now, there's 3 things I want to share with you guys about transitioning to a plant-based diet, or even if you're already on a plant-based diet, okay? There's really 3 big things that you're going to need to know, and these are tips taken right out of my book here, okay? Number 1 is your macronutrients. I'm not saying that you need to, go deep crazy into studying it, but you should know where your nutrients are coming from. This is crucial to you having success in this way of eating and reduces your chances of malnutrition and feeling amazing. Not because the diet can lead to malnutrition, but because we haven't been taught the same basics of nutrients for plant-based eating as we have with traditional omnivorous eating, we don't know where our nutrients come from. For example, most of us grew up knowing that if we needed calcium in our diet, we needed to drink more milk, right? If you grew up on a plant-based diet, you would know that if you needed more calcium in your diet, you would eat tofu, you would eat dark greens that have been lightly sauteed, you would add more beans to your diet. And so those are 2 totally different options, right? And so it's not by any, it's not by your lack of knowledge that you'd be running into malnutrition issues. It's just by the fact that these aren't taught in our traditional way of eating. And so in order to feel amazing and to gain the most positive benefits from a plant-based diet, you should know where your basic nutrients come from. So let's have a quick look at our 3 macronutrients, okay? Proteins. This is always the first one we all think about when we think about a plant-based diet and coming off of meat, right? Where's my protein? Okay, so let's talk about what protein does for you. Helps you feel full, provides healthy hair, skin, and nails, keeps your hormones in check, gives you muscular strength, provides actual strength to your cells in your body. Proteins have a very crucial role in our body, and they can actually be found in all plants, including things like fruit, all your vegetables, okay? But we tend to find them in higher concentration in things like beans, lentils, legumes, soy, tofu, tempeh, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. So these are your bulk of your protein options when it comes to a plant-based diet. When you're looking at carbohydrates, carbohydrates are a necessity for our body. They give our brain and our body fuel. They are the main fuel source in our body. Please don't be afraid of them, okay? I talk to so many people every day. Oh, I cut carbs. Please don't do that. Your body requires them. They aid in digestion. They help you feel full. They help stabilize your cholesterol levels, okay? They are key to good health. Now, here's the really interesting thing, okay? The reason so many people are afraid of carbohydrates is because on a traditional standard diet, carbohydrates tend to be known as bread, bagels, muffins, pasta, and all of these are refined white flour. Refined white flour contains no starches or no fiber to help slow the release of energy and sugars in those carbohydrates. It contains very little nutrients, and so it's actually very empty calories. Now, regardless of any type of diet you follow, if you were to cut all of those refined carbohydrates out of your diet, you would see long-term weight loss and lifetime health benefits regardless. But let's talk about where we actually find carbohydrates. And I think some of this might surprise you because carbohydrates are found in all plants. Surprise, surprise. But they are found in higher concentrations in things like whole grains. Beans, lentils, and pulses are also high carbohydrate. Fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Okay, but all vegetables, even things like lettuce. Lettuce is a carbohydrate. It has a carbohydrate component. Okay, and so please don't just cut all your carbs out. Just make sure that you are eating whole grains and ensuring that you're getting lots of fruits and vegetables. Now, fats are, of course, another or our last component of our macronutrients. They help stabilize our blood sugar levels. They give your body and brain energy. They protect your organs. They support cell growth, and they aid in vital nutrient absorption. For example, vitamins A, D, E, and K can only be absorbed in the presence of a healthy fat in your body. If you cut all fats from your body, you'll not be able to absorb those nutrients that are crucial for good health. Now, healthy fats from plant-based sources are most commonly found in nuts and seeds, avocado, coconut, algal, which is a seaweed from the ocean. It's actually what fish eat to get their omega-3s that we then turn into a supplement, okay? Olives, and then the micro seeds, I like to call them, which are flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp hearts, and sesame seeds. Those all contain healthy fats that you can be adding to your diet every single day to help support good health. Now, the second thing that you need to know about a plant-based diet is the calories and portion sizes. But here's what I'm going to tell you first. Do not count your calories. It's not necessary, okay? Unless you are a competitive athlete or you have very, very specific health goals, you do not need to count calories on a plant-based diet. If you follow this image right here, this proportion on your meals and on your snacks, then you are getting a healthy ratio of plant-based food, okay? So counting calories overcomplicates it for nothing. Don't. It's way too complicated. It's not necessary, but it also tends to feel restrictive and unsustainable, because if you feel like you're trying to fit into a certain number of calories every day, you might be surprised that by having half an avocado, you're looking at a couple hundred calories and you haven't even had much to eat, okay? And so, yet, when eating calories on a plant-based diet, like eating your foods, the more fruits and vegetables that we fill up on, the less we're actually going to eat. Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit about fine-tuning your diet for weight loss and weight gain in a little bit. But counting calories can also create a very unhealthy relationship with your food. It can become obsessive. It can become not just restrictive, but it can create that unhealthy pattern between yourself and the way that you view food. And honestly, food should be an enjoyable and social and fun experience. It shouldn't be something that feels like a chore. It shouldn't be something that feels like a punishment either. Okay? So instead, what I want you to do is listen to your body. Eat when you're hungry and stop eating when you're not. Stop eating. If you're not hungry, don't eat. If you think you're hungry, go have a glass of water. Usually we're thirsty when we think that we're hungry. Just have yourself a glass of water, okay? Now, in terms of portion sizes, you want to keep this ratio in mind. So 2 parts veggies, 1 part protein, and 1 part complex carbohydrate or complex grain, okay? And just a small serving of healthy fats. And so what that means is it doesn't matter whether you are feeding a 3-year-old or you're feeding a 40-year-old who's trying to gain weight, or you're feeding a 40-year-old who's trying to lose weight, or you're feeding a whole crowd of people, or you're feeding just yourself, whether it's a snack or a meal. If you keep that ratio, you will get all the nutrients that your body needs. You will feel full. You will get a large variety of food into your meal or into your day, and you're less likely to run into excessive eating issues as a result. So rather than measuring or weighing your food, just keep this ratio proportion in mind. And this image, you guys, actually came directly from Canada's Food Guide, which was updated in 2019 to reflect a more plant-based style of eating. Now, number 3 that you need to know is signs if you're missing something. It's not uncommon when you're transitioning into a plant-based diet to start to notice changes in your body, in your health, in your energy, in your moods. And so what you want to do is you're really going to want to pay attention to how your body looks, feels, and changes before and after all of your meals, so on a daily basis, but also on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis. Not to get excessive about it. Don't be on the scale every day. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is be in tune with what your body is and what it's changing to be, okay? And there's a couple reasons for this. Number 1, it can take several months for your body to show malnutrition or missing nutritional deficiencies in your diet, but also because just because you're eating a plant-based diet doesn't necessarily mean that all the foods you're eating are good for you, your body, okay? And so knowing that, what your body feels like before and after eating certain meals or over a long-term basis can help you recognize which foods are right for you. So here are a couple of common nutritional deficiencies, or at least maybe not nutritional deficiencies, concerns that many people on a plant-based diet within their first year tend to have. Number 1 is say they've gained weight, okay? Low energy levels, constant hunger, bloating, they now have nail ridges or weaker nails, dull hair, and poor skin, okay? Maybe their skin has more wrinkles, it doesn't feel as firm, it's just not fresh looking. So let's dive into some of those a little bit, okay? Number 1, weight gain. Weight gain, this is at the top for a reason. This is one of the biggest traps that people tend to fall into when they're eating a plant-based diet. And here's why. As you're transitioning, as you're learning where your nutrients come from, if you're not being intentional about adding that protein into your diet, you won't have enough protein. And that will lead you to feeling full, to eating more carbohydrates, particularly grains, and to eating more often than you normally would. And this does contribute to eating more food than you need or than your body actually needs or is necessary. And so this leads to weight gain. So this is the most common trap by far that people fall into in their first year of plant-based eating. Make sure that you always are eating enough protein by keeping that ratio. So whether you're eating a snack, just a small portion of food, keep that ratio. Whether you're eating a full meal, keep that full ratio, okay? That's gonna help ensure that you're getting enough protein to avoid that trap. Things like low energy levels and bloating, that tends to come down to issues with specific food that you're eating. Maybe you're eating a specific food that is causing you some discomfort. And we're gonna talk a little bit about that in just a few minutes. Nail ridges and poor skin tends to be a sign that you're missing some key nutrients, and generally those nutrients would be coming from your protein sources. So just increase how much protein you're eating every day or at each meal to make sure that you are making up for that. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to our hair, skin, and nails, it can take months to notice those changes. The good thing is it's reversible, okay? Those are not long-term permanent issues. These are something, because our hair, skin, and nails grow and change and are basically regenerated every 30 days, we have the opportunity to reset that process and put better nutrition into those cells to produce healthier looking hair, skin, and reduce those ridges, give your hair more shine, more bounce, have it feel more soft and less dry. Something with your hair, your skin, and your nails. So those tend to be the top complaints of people transitioning to a plant-based diet. I'm curious, I know we have a lot of plant-based eaters here tonight. Go ahead and pop into the chat box. Let me know how many of these or which of these have you experienced in the transition to plant-based eating, because it is quite common, and God knows I did it too, you guys. When I transitioned, I was not yet a nutritionist. I didn't know anything about nutrition other than, clean eating and, that food matters. That was really all I knew. And it was actually my transition and the resulting health that I experienced of it that led me to becoming a nutritionist. So go ahead over to the chat box and let me know which of these you've experienced. Now I want to jump into some frequently asked questions with you guys. Let me see here. So the biggest question that I always get, of course, is how do I replace meat? Okay, that is by far the first question that everybody always asks, because they say, you know, how do I actually eat more plant-based protein? How do I do it? Well, my first answer is one meal at a time. Seriously, do not overthink it. Don't plan out this huge week or month-long menu of plant-based meals that you've never tried before and you don't even know if you like them. Literally one meal at a time. Take your family favorite meal, take out it, and put it in plant-based protein. Don't ever just take out meat from your meal and leave it, okay? So when I was transitioning, or just shortly before, my husband and I were trying to cut our food costs. I was going on to mat leave. And so I was like, okay, you know, where can I cut our food costs? And meat was definitely a big thing. So I said, okay, well, we'll start doing, you know, meatless Mondays, or maybe a couple times a week. And I didn't know any better, so I took it out of our plate, and just like that. So our plate was basically all pasta, and most nights that we did meatless Monday. So that doesn't help, because what you take out of your meal, you need to put back in. Just you need to find that other source. And so you need to experiment. You know, try different spices, try different herbs, try different types of plant-based proteins. So here are some of my favorite replacements or healthy swaps, okay? So if you like to use ground meat, say in pasta sauces, or, you know, shepherd's pie, or meatloaf, lentils. Okay, lentils make a super great base for that. They have the same or a very similar consistency. They're very bland in taste, so you can season them and give them some flavor, and you know, really have them. They're not going to taste like ground meat, but they're going to have the flavor of their own, and that as well is really great for our bodies. Okay, just having that change up in our nutrition. Okay. If you're used to having chicken breast, then firm tofu is a really great alternative, or of course tempeh is another one. Tempeh is a cultured version of soy, and so it does offer a lot of probiotic benefits as well. It is an acquired taste though, as are most probiotic rich foods. So it's not something I recommend if you are just running out of the gates on this one. However, tofu is a more simpler option and is very bland, and so just be sure to season it well so that your family enjoys that transition period. I often tell people, or I often have people say to me, oh, tofu is awful, it's disgusting, it has no taste. And it's like, well, it's great that it has no taste, because what that means is you could use it from anything from, you know, yogurt to a cream cheese sauce, to putting it into a soup, to making chicken breast. Like, you can make bacon out of it, like a BLT. There's so many amazing options you can do with tofu. So the fact that it's bland is just amazing. It just opens that door to creativity. Okay. You could use crushed tofu in place of scrambled eggs. So literally just mashing it to have that consistency of scrambled eggs, adding in some turmeric, a little bit of nutritional yeast gives it that color, a bit of flavor. And if you want it to really taste eggy, I want you to hop online and grab yourself a small package of black salt. It's actually pink, but it smells like sulfur, identical to eggs. And so if you mixed it into there, you're going to have a very similar taste, texture, and color to real scrambled eggs. Okay. Beans in place of everything. You can mash them down into patties, into meatloaf, into you put them into a chili or a sloppy joe. You can, of course, do like a maple drizzle on them. All kinds of different things you can do with beans. And so I honestly, if I'm being super lazy about my meal, I know I've got a grain, I've got a bean, I've got a whole bunch of veggies, throw it all together and put a sauce on it, and I've got a Buddha bowl, just like that. And you can have Buddha bowls every night and have a different food every night. It would taste different every night, okay? Different vegetables, different beans, different grain, different sauce, and you've got a totally different meal with the same concept. That keeps it super simple, okay? And then nuts and seeds are a protein booster. So for example, 3 tablespoons of hemp hearts actually adds 10 grams of protein to your food. So you could easily sprinkle some of those onto a soup, into a salad, into a smoothie, of course, on a smoothie bowl, or even on top of toast to add a little bit more protein to your meal, particularly if you're struggling to get enough in the day. My next question, or the next frequently asked question, is how do I replace dairy? This one was hard, you guys, for me personally, because I was a cheese and yogurt addict. I was spending about $15 a week on yogurt, and probably about $15 a week on cheese as well. So it was a good portion of my weekly food budget. And so it was a more difficult transition personally for me. But again, one meal at a time. That was what I did. I decided, mac and cheese was a meal that we enjoyed. Okay, what can I use in place of the cheese? How can I make a cheese that's healthier? What can I do? And so experiment spices and herbs. Now, of course, if you're a really big fan of things like yogurt, then you can make tofu yogurt. I actually have a tofu yogurt recipe in here for you guys. So it's super simple right there. You can buy pre-made plant-based yogurts like coconut milk yogurt. Those generally don't tend to actually have nutritional value. They just kind of a filler for you to replace that gap. And nutritional yeast can give a very cheesy flavor to your food. So if you're looking for things like a Parmesan, or you wanted to make a sauce for like a mac and cheese that tasted like cheese, then you would add that nutritional yeast in to give it that flavor. Now, this is another question. So earlier I mentioned, some of the signs that you're missing something might be like bloating or gassiness or just physical discomfort. Okay, so this is one that I get asked all the time, I can't eat beans, they make me so bloated and gassy. So that is due to the oligosaccharides. Okay, now that is a sugar, that is a carbohydrate sugar in the beans that when processed or when digested in the body does tend to promote more gas in the digestive system. It does cause bloating, it does cause gassiness. However, there are ways that you can actually disable a lot of that sugar in the bean to reduce the bloating and the gassing. So I want you to take note of this because this is something that, maybe you specifically don't struggle with bloating or gassiness, but if you were serving a meal to somebody, maybe you had guests over who weren't necessarily plant-based and you wanted to show off all of your amazing new recipes and your new way of eating, and you threw together, your most die-hard, amazing plant-based meal, and then everyone goes home not feeling well. It doesn't feel good, right? So take note of this tip here, okay? You can reduce bloating and gassing by first soaking your dry beans overnight. Soak them in cool water overnight, 12 hours. Then I want you to drain them, rinse them very well in fresh water, then cook them. And at the end of cooking, add 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar to your batch. That apple cider vinegar actually deactivates the last of the oligosaccharides that causes that bloating and that gassiness, okay? So this is great if you're feeding somebody who might have Crohn's or IBS or has just a very difficult or sensitive digestive system. This can help reduce their discomfort, and of course yours as well, even if you're just sensitive to it. So make sure you take note of that because that's really, really key, okay? Then of course here, so why am I gaining weight or why am I losing weight is also another common one. So improper macro ratios. So again, it's not about counting your macronutrients, it's about having the right ratios, making sure that half of your serving, so 2 parts of your servings are your vegetables and some fruits in there. And that 1/4 of your servings is your protein and 1/4 is a whole grain. Keeping with that ratio is going to ensure that you have a healthy weight for life, okay? So you're not eating enough protein, meaning you're getting too many grain-based carbohydrates because you're filling up in order to make up that gap of hunger, okay? Now, oftentimes, I also get the question of why am I losing weight? So this is a really great question as well. So some people don't want to lose weight, believe it or not. So for example, if you took a look at me, I can gain and lose very easily, but my body likes to hold weight. Okay. Whereas my husband can lose weight like this and has a very difficult time holding his weight. And so we have very opposite bodies. We have very opposite metabolisms. And trust me, every single day we wish we had each other's body. It's just awful. We get some pretty funny conversations going on here about it. But the funny thing is that we both have very opposite bodies. And so we actually have to eat differently, even though we're eating the same thing. Okay. So for me, it means I have to have more protein because I gain weight very easily. So I have to make sure I'm getting that protein in order to keep my body full, so that I'm not snacking, so that I don't have that constant hunger, and so that I'm not eating more grain-based carbohydrates than I actually need, that I'm not consuming more than my body requires for healthy weight maintenance. Now, oftentimes people who have difficulty holding weight will lose weight on a plant-based diet. And the reason for this is that it's actually very difficult to eat 2,000 calories worth of food on a plant-based diet. And that's because plant-based food tends to actually be very low in calories every day. Now, I've thrown that word out a lot, calories. I'm not about calorie counting. I want you guys to know that in case you are new to my webinars, okay? I'm not about calorie counting. However, our bodies do require a base minimal amount of calories in order to function properly. And if we have too much of it, we gain, and if we don't have enough, we lose. And that's how weight gain and loss works, okay? So it can be difficult for somebody who loses weight easily to maintain it on a plant-based diet, but that's not to say it can't be done. It just means you have to change your ratios a little bit, okay? Or increase your serving sizes. So your ratios maybe stay the same, so 2 parts your veggies and fruit, 1 part proteins, 1 part carbohydrates, but in this case, you actually have bigger servings. And what's great about this is that, you know, most of us don't say that we don't want to eat more food, right? I know I personally love to eat. And the fact that I can have a nice large plate of food without feeling restricted feels wonderful, right? It doesn't feel guilty to have a big plate of food. And so, you know, if you are trying to hold weight or gain weight, say if you're a competitive athlete or you're trying to put on some bulk, then you do actually have to increase the size of your food. So your ratios stay the same, but increase the size of your food in order to get in the calories that your body needs to put that weight on, to put yourself in a weight or a calorie excess, okay? I hope that's making sense for you guys. I don't want to get too complicated on it. But then the last question that I always get, of course, is do I need to supplement? Okay. So this really comes down to a personal choice, but I want to ask you these quick questions. These are questions you should ask yourself. Okay. 1, are you eating meat, eggs, dairy, and fish 2 to 3 times a week? If you are, you're probably getting enough vitamin B12, and that's actually because those foods are fortified with it, meaning they don't naturally contain it. It's been added to either the animal's feed or added into the product itself afterwards, which, as we discussed earlier, synthetic vitamins aren't effective in our body, okay? They're necessary because we do have nutritional gaps, but they're not effective. Then second question you need to ask yourself is, are you eating 7 to 13 servings of fruits and veggies every day? Because if you're not, yes, you need to supplement. The quality of our food is decreasing. We talked about this. We know that fruits and vegetables are key to good health. And truthfully, for some of us, it's very hard to eat 7 to 13 servings of fruits and veggies every day, even on a plant-based diet, because you will feel full. You will feel full eating all that. I know that I don't have enough space in my stomach. And if you want to know how big your stomach is, I want you to put your 2 hands together and have a look at that fist. Okay, that is the size, that is the physical size of your stomach inside your body. I don't know about you, but likely your dinner plate holds more food than that every time you eat. That's huge, you guys. That's a lot of food, right? So I personally know I can't eat that much food, that many servings every day. And I also know that I would if I could, right? Next, are you getting 1 hour of direct sunlight on your arms and legs every day, all year? Okay, you might be if you live in the tropics or somewhere in the Caribbean. Most of us aren't that lucky. So living here in Northern Ontario, or even just in North America, we do not get that. Okay, so yes, vitamin D is a a vitamin that our bodies require for healthy hormone production, and so many key factors in our health, including our mood. Okay, so if you're not getting that sunlight every day on your skin, then you need to supplement. You need a vitamin D supplement. Now, the cool thing is there are some natural foods that contain that, like mushrooms. Mushrooms grown under UV conditions contain vitamin D that can help boost that for you. Okay. Same thing if we backtrack to vitamin B12, eating meat, eggs, dairy, fish. Nutritional yeast can actually be fortified with a plant-based natural source of vitamin B12. And so that is a much better option for you than supplementing with an actual vitamin supplement. Now, so then the last question, or the second last, is, are you eating foods fortified with vitamin D, B12, and calcium every day? No? Then you may need to supplement. And then lastly, what are your health goals? Are you doing this for the animals? Are you doing it for your health? Are you doing this to save money? Are you doing this because you want to feel good long term? Are you doing this because you want to lose weight? Whatever your goal is you need to consider is how committed are you to this? Is this just something that you want to be able to add more a little bit of, and you're pretty flexible in the way you were eating before? Whatever it is, those are questions you need to ask yourself this. But at the end of the day, pretty much everybody has a nutritional deficiency somewhere, just because the quality of our food is not what it used to be and not what it can be. So yeah, we need to supplement. So then the very last question that I get is, what can I use to bridge that gap? What can I use to supplement that is going to be good for my body, that is going to be used by my body, that isn't a synthetic chemical that my body is going to filter out, that's going to enhance all the foods that I'm putting into my body? Well, this is where Juice Plus comes in. This is my favorite plant-based whole food supplement. And it's literally like, I can't even call this supplement, you guys. It's literally a capsule. Over 45 whole plant-based foods in the capsules and the complete protein powder. And so when you look at all of these are concentrated food powders that your body actually absorbs, that your body actually uses, and has been shown in studies to bridge the gap between what we do eat, so the amount of fruits and vegetables and nutrition that we get, and what we really should be getting in order to have that ultimate health and health that we desire, right? To reduce our risk of obesity and reduce our risk of cardiovascular diseases and cancers and diabetes, right? And so by reducing this and by bridging that gap, by adding more fruits and veggies to our diet, we are reducing that. Now you can see here, there are foods in here that most of us, even on a plant-based diet, probably don't eat even once a month, right? Like, I know that I don't eat pomegranate once a month, let alone every day with the convenience of the capsule. I don't eat millet every day. That's a grain that I would love to eat every day, and I just don't. It's so simple, but I don't, right? Broccoli sprouts are actually more nutritious than broccoli themselves. They have several key vitamins and nutrients that are actually more concentrated in their sprout form than they are actually in the full-grown form, which is incredible, right? Because who would have thought that the baby version of a plant would have more nutrition than the full-grown? So that's really cool too. So a lot of these are things that we don't eat on a daily basis or even weekly or monthly basis, because most of us have the same rotating shopping list. And so adding all of this variety really boosts that synergistic effect of all of the fruits and veggies and the plant-based nutrition that we put into our body. Then lastly is the Juice Plus Omega blend, which is a vegan 100% plant-based blend. So earlier I talked about how healthy fats really help support ultimate health, and that there's something we need in our diet. Now, if you eliminate all of your fish sources, and which truthfully I would recommend, or at least reducing it significantly, as there are a lot of concerns over heavy metal toxins in the fish, as well as microplastics. Okay. Now, reducing all of that, you do still need omegas in our body. These are healthy fats. And so earlier I said, there were a couple of ways to get that. Well, algal oil is one of them. And you can see here that that's actually one of the first oils in the omega blend that actually helps support, good health for the heart, brain, joints, skin, eyes. And the fact that it's vegan capsules and a full spectrum omega actually means that instead of just getting omega-3s, you're getting a full spectrum of healthy fats, omega-3, 5, 6, 7, and 9, to help boost all of that good health benefit and nutrition that your body is receiving. Okay, now I would never put something up here that I didn't believe in or that wasn't backed by science. So everything that I have shared with you tonight is backed by science and research, including everything about Juice Plus. So with over 35 published studies worldwide, it is the most researched brand name nutritional product in the world. That's an incredible statement, right? And I actually think we're up to almost 40 studies now, but all of these studies are actually showing that at a cellular level, eating Juice Plus improves your health. It reduces inflammation. It improves your vision or your eye health, your cellular health. It reduces your risks of cardiovascular issues. It actually literally bridges the gap between nutrition. There was a study done at MD Anderson that proved or that showed significant improvement in cellular health between a group of people who ate 13 servings of fruits and veggies versus a group of people who ate 5 servings of fruits and veggies and 8 Juice Plus. They actually had blood work that showed biomarkers of equivalent to 10 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables. That's incredible. So it literally bridges that gap. So if you are only eating 5 or 6 servings, even 7 servings of fruits and veggies, even 8 or 9 or 10, however much you're eating, athletes actually need more for that cellular health and repair and that degenerative health that our body goes through, that degenerative process our body goes through by being active and competitive sports and athletic performance. And so this actually literally bridges that gap. And so these studies are just mind-blowing for me personally as a nerd. And then the really cool thing is that, the Shred 10, for those of you who don't know about the Shred 10, this is a really great lifestyle that comes with the capsules. And so the Juice Plus capsules, the complete protein powder, and the omega blend, which allows you to start implementing a plant-strong lifestyle without a thought process or measuring your food or weighing your food or counting calories. Literally just following the tips that I've shared with you tonight is what Shred 10 is all about, is adding more plants to your meals and your plate, and being more intentional about reducing your dairy, your refined sugars, your processed food. And then of course there are some lifestyle factors added into this, because we know that even though nutrition probably plays about 80% of a factor in our health, it's not the only factor. And so looking at health as a whole is important in ensuring that you get the results that you want for long-term sustainable lifelong health. Okay. So the Shred is totally included in your capsule purchase or package, and you can see here that it's just a couple dollars a day to add to your lifestyle to increase your health, your cellular health, your body, and just encourage better health, not just for you but for your children, because it's actually free for kids with your order. So that's a really great opportunity. So I want to say thank you to everybody. This was a lot of information. I hope you all took notes. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. I'm going to head over to the chat box and see if we have any questions. Like I mentioned earlier, if you would like the recording for this, just let me know or reach out to the person who invited you here tonight. Or if you're interested in more information about Juice Plus or Shred, the complete, the Omega blend, go ahead and reach out to the person who invited you, or stick around here on the chat and we'd be happy to give you some more information. If you don't yet have a copy of my book, I'd be happy to share the link with you as well in the chat box, so you can go ahead and order your book as well, with 75 recipes, literally walking you through the process of beginning a plant-based diet. You're not going to fail with this, okay? So super easy and simple. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm heading over to the chat right now.